And so the documents that you will be requesting for production are the original signature documents that allows the respondent to restrain the liberty of the petitioner. And I can almost guarantee you the IRS can't come up with that because it doesn't exist.
Right.
So when you go into the hearing on the habeas, you come in as the petitioner, as the moving party, and you would simply tell the judge, will you inquire of the respondent, is there a return on writ? In other words, have they produced all documents? And so then the judge would ask the respondent, have you returned the writ? And, of course, they can't because it's impossible. So the judge is going to tell you, well, no, there has not been a return on writ. That's the only thing you want to hear, that there has not been a return on the writ. And so now that has not been a return on the writ, then you would be petitioning the magistrate for an order to prevent the restraint of your liberty by the respondent in any manner, which certainly would include the removal of the notice of lien from the county recorder's office. You see what I mean? So habeas corpus could be used very handily that way if you wanted to go that route.
And any liens against bank accounts and whatnot.
Yeah. Now, and there are other ways. Like I say, you know, years ago, back when I was young, there was a song that came out. It's called 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. Well, somebody needs to write a song called 50 Ways to Satisfy a IRS Problem, because there's a multitude of ways to handle these things. One report I got from a fellow down in Las Vegas few years ago, that he was handling all that IRS stuff by simply going and filing a commercial lien against the IRS, and then taking his commercial lien into state court, for resolution and so forth. And he was very talented, and probably most people are not that talented to be able to do that. But there's another way. Another way we've been doing it is with bonds for discharge. In some instances, we send the bonds for discharge to back to the IRS. In some instances, we send those bonds for discharge down to the Secretary of Treasury at Puerto Rico. And we've seen success in going both directions. And so there's another way. And, you could, like I say, there's probably not 50 ways in existence right now, but certainly there are a number of different ways to handle some of these things.
All right. In Texas, I believe you're the first one to raise your hand. You're first.
Okay. Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Dad. Hey, Mr. Shrout, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay.
Okay. I'm having a problem with the IRS. I received a $5,000 penalty letter saying that if I don't recant what I did, then I'll have to pay $5,000 within 30 days. And what I did was I did a OID process for the years 2006 to 2009, and I received my refund for 2009, but for 2006, 7, and 8, I received that letter. So I was wondering, what can I do to respond to them to receive my refund and, go from there?
Well, there's been a lot of conflicting results from the use of those 1099s, and probably most of the problem has been caused by people using their Social Security number on those forms, rather than using an EIN number. And I'm not going to go into all that, but probably if it were me, I think I might take that situation directly to the United States Treasury CID for resolution. I have heard, although I don't have firsthand knowledge, that many who were actually using some of those processes were actually sending all that paperwork, the returns and everything, directly to Treasury CID rather than to the IRS. They said it took a whole lot longer to get the whole thing done, but there seemed to be less hassle dealing with Treasury than they had dealing with the IRS. So you might want to think about contacting a U.S. Treasury CID personnel and sitting down with them and try to work it out that way.
Okay. The only problem is I have a few days to respond to the IRS. So should I? Well, I know this is just.
Okay. You need to respond to them and simply object to what they're saying there, and keep the correspondence going and so forth. And as long as you are responding, certainly they can't. It's when you don't respond that you have the problems.
Right.
So go ahead and keep your response up, and then if it were me, I think I'd be finding a Treasury CID personnel and seeing if you can't get it resolved through that manner.
Okay. That's good. I think I'll do that. But in the meantime, can I just send them a conditional acceptance letter saying that upon proof that this is correct, blah, 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 here is the corrected or the updated 1040X. And
rather than do a conditional acceptance, a conditional acceptance is a counterclaim, and it raises a controversy. If you go into all that trouble, why not just go do a habeas corpus and drag them into court and have them fess up that they don't have any original documents? Because if you continue on with the counterclaim, eventually to get it resolved, you're going to have to take it into court anyway. So if rather than go to all that trouble and paperwork and going back and forth on the counterclaim and all that kind of thing on the conditional acceptance, so why not just go ahead and take it straight into court on the habeas corpus?
Okay, I need to review habeas corpus then.
Sure. Well, if you
Winston, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you have that habeas corpus as a template in any of your documents?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Which you can find at WSSIC.com.
Well, the best thing to do would be to go on the website and send an email, and in the subject line, just put request for habeas corpus documents, and then I can get those to you.
Okay. And then
you're right. You do need to study habeas corpus and understand it. The habeas corpus, that I have prepared it has absolutely no fiction in it. It's all written in fact, if you understand what I'm saying. And so you do need to understand a little bit about it, because again, the habeas that I've written here is not for use in a fictional court. And so this habeas has to be taken to a judge or a magistrate, and it would not necessarily appear, in a fiction. Matter of fact, I had done that habeas on a friend who was a prisoner of the U.S. Marshals, and I had sent that habeas to the U.S. District Court in Hawaii. That's where he was from, because I understood that the U.S. District Court in Hawaii was actually an Article III court. And so that's why I sent it there in the manner that I did. And so as it turns out, the Article III court is not staffed, and so the U.S. District Court took it over, and the judge sent it back with the comment that you have not given me a colorable remedy. Well, of course there's no colorable remedy in the thing. It was all in fact, and it wasn't in fiction at all. And so, from that experience, then the way the style of this habeas corpus is, I'm suggesting it needs to be taken on the state level and not used in the United States District Court situations.
My understanding is that the judges in the circuit court have dual roles. They also serve as a magistrate. You just have to invoke their duties as a magistrate. Is that correct? Yes.
It basically goes to oath of office, and a magistrate in a state situation is actually operating under the oath of office of a judge, because the magistrates don't have oaths. But in any event, keep it in the state level, and don't be trying to go into the United States District Court with this particular form of habeas corpus, because they'll just kick it back out. They can't deal with it.
Okay, so we're going to move on. We have Richard in North Carolina. You're next.
Okay, thanks. Hi, thanks. Hello.
Go ahead.
I was wondering how any of these processes may relate to state departments of revenue, and whether they are corporations or are they actual. Well, since the state government's a corporation, I guess they have to be a corporation too. I'm not sure, but how would you handle the state issue?
In the same way. For those of you who follow TalkShoe presentations and so forth, David Clarence, the county notary, has come up with some very good information how to deal with some of those state issues. And I've looked over that technology, and it looks very, very promising. And you might want to go and look at what he has presented, from the position of executor.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that too.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked it over real close, and it looks very, very promising. I can understand. We've been kind of skirting around that for years and years, but he came up with the linchpin on it, and so I've looked at that with particular interest, and it looks very promising.
And one more question. With respect to the IRS, I remember reading one of your articles that I really enjoyed, where it made the distinction between the Internal Revenue Bureau and the IRS and so forth, and that you needed to attack them in terms of their collection agency function and not the Title 26. And I was wondering, and you also provided a validation letter that they had to validate the loan, validate the debt, and that they couldn't do that. Can you take a complaint into a local state level or county level civil court and with a complaint against them when they don't produce that, and thereby receive a judgment against them because they would probably not appear?
Yeah, there's two ways you can handle that. Perhaps you want to make a civil complaint, or for those of you who are talented, you might in fact want to bring a criminal complaint. Now, criminal complaints are just a little bit more difficult, and it would certainly start out with an affidavit for probable cause, and it would go into the county attorney, or perhaps go to the state attorney general for prosecution. So yeah, you can attack that thing, either civilly or you can attack it criminally, based on the situation. And again, one of the major ways to attack some of that problem is through the UPU for mail fraud, because they're soliciting fraudulent contracts using the Postal Service to do so. And so that does bring down criminal implications on mail fraud. And so you may, in fact, want to make a complaint to the UPU through your local postmaster. So like I say, there's 50 ways to leave your levers.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'll get off.
Okay, Tad, maybe one more, and then we got to break off here. I got to go to bed.
Okay, Winston. South Central Florida, when your phone unmutes, it's your turn. Okay, in Florida, your phone just unmuted. It's your turn.
Thank you. I'd like to know one thing. You at the San Antonio seminar, I believe you stated that the birth certificate had a value of $650,000 in $1923 and at 6% interest from date of registration. Can you tell me where that might be stated, or in the document or something?
It's by implication. And the reason why I say it's by implication is because the tax exemption on the estate at the death of the man is way back when it was $680,000.